Christmas, a time of joy, togetherness, and peace. But what if I told you that some Christmases ended not with carols and gifts, but with flames, bloodshed, and unimaginable sorrow? In today's video, we uncover 5 terrifying Christmas tragedies that forever scarred history. From a fire that turned a theater into a death trap, to a family celebration shattered by murder, and even an entire town mourning its lost children, these are stories you won't forget. As the holiday lights flicker, remember, darkness often lurks where you least expect it. By the end, you'll never look at Christmas the same way again. Because sometimes the season of joy hides the most horrifying truths. Number 5. The Iroquois Theatre Fire, 1903. Our first tale takes us to Chicago in 1903. The Iroquois Theatre had just opened its doors, boasting an opulent interior adorned with lavish decor and state-of-the-art features. Marketed as a marvel of modern safety, the theater proudly displayed its claim of being absolutely fireproof. That December, holiday revelers filled the 1,700-seat auditorium, excited to watch the grand production of Mr. Bluebeard. Families, many with children dressed in their holiday best, saw it as the perfect seasonal treat. But in a twist of fate, the night would forever be remembered as one of the deadliest in American history. What began as a joyous evening quickly turned into an unimaginable nightmare. During the second act, a stage light malfunctioned, igniting a spark that quickly spread to the hanging curtains. Panic set in when the audience realized the flames were real, and chaos erupted as smoke and fire consumed the theater. The audience rushed for the exits, but they faced a horrifying reality. Many doors were locked to prevent unpaid entry. Fire escapes led nowhere or collapsed under pressure. A sudden backdraft caused a ball of fire to race through the theater, instantly killing many trapped in their seats. Parents clutched their children, frantically searching for a way out as thick smoke filled the air and screams echoed through the inferno. By the time the fire was extinguished, over 600 lives were lost. Entire families perished, and the Christmas season became a time of mourning. The tragedy exposed critical flaws in building codes and emergency protocols, leading to reforms that would change fire safety forever. Yet for the survivors, the scars ran deeper than legislation could mend. Would you have made it out alive, or would you have been one of the hundreds whose last holiday was marked by terror and flames? Number 4. The Congo Christmas Massacre, 2008. While some tragedies stem from accidents, others arise from unthinkable acts of human cruelty. In December 2008, the Lord's Resistance Army, a militant group infamous for its brutal tactics, unleashed terror across northeastern Congo. In what became known as the Christmas Massacre, they executed a coordinated attack that targeted villages during what should have been a time of peace and celebration. Under the cover of darkness, the LRA descended upon unsuspecting communities. Men, women, and children gathered in homes and churches for Christmas were suddenly confronted with unimaginable violence. Over 800 lives were taken in a matter of days, and countless others were abducted. Families were torn apart in the most horrific ways, and entire villages were left in ashes. The attackers didn't choose Christmas by chance. They aimed to strike at the heart of joy and unity, turning a season of hope into one of despair. Survivors recount the horror of hearing loved ones cry out in pain, only to be silenced forever. Those who escaped were left to wander the wilderness, haunted by the loss of their families, homes, and humanity itself. The devastation didn't end with the massacre. Thousands were displaced, left to grapple with the psychological scars of what they had endured. For the survivors, Christmas is no longer a time of celebration. It's a stark reminder of the cost of human cruelty. Can you imagine the sound of joy replaced by silence? The warmth of the season extinguished in an instant? For those who lived through it, the echoes of that night will never fade. Number 3. The Covina Massacre, 2008. Christmas Eve, 2008. The Ortega family gathered in their Covina, California home, surrounded by friends and loved ones. Laughter echoed through the halls, and the spirit of the season filled the air. But outside, darkness loomed. Bruce Pardo, the estranged ex-husband of Sylvia Ortega, was preparing to enact a horrifying plan. Disguised as Santa Claus, he approached the house with deadly intent. Hidden behind the iconic red and white suit was an arsenal of weapons and a homemade flamethrower. As the family opened their presents, Bruce burst through the door and opened fire. Chaos erupted. Screams replaced the joyful chatter as Pardo shot indiscriminately at the people who once considered him family. Then, as if that wasn't enough, he unleashed his flamethrower, engulfing the house in flames. 9 lives were lost that night, including Sylvia and her parents. The house, once a place of celebration, was reduced to a smoldering pile of ash. The motive? Revenge. Bruce had been enraged after a bitter divorce from Sylvia, a separation that left him financially and emotionally shattered. In his mind, destroying her and her loved ones on a holiday meant to symbolize joy and togetherness was the ultimate retribution. After his rampage, Pardo fled to his brother's house, where he later took his own life. But the scars he left behind remain. Survivors, including children who managed to escape, are haunted by the memory of that night, their Christmas forever marred by unimaginable terror. Bruce Pardo turned a symbol of joy into a harbinger of death. Would you have trusted Santa that night? Number 2. The Italian Hall Disaster, 1913. Christmas Eve, 1913. Calumet, Michigan. The town's Italian Hall was alive with holiday spirit as more than 400 striking copper miners and their families gathered for a union-sponsored Christmas party. Children ran through the halls, parents exchanged smiles, and the air was filled with hope, despite the tensions looming outside. But that joy was shattered in an instant. Someone yelled, "Fire!" The hall, packed to capacity, erupted into chaos. Terrified families scrambled for the exits. Most rushed toward the narrow, steep staircase leading to the main doors. Panic took over. In their desperate attempt to escape, men, women, and children were crushed under the weight of the crowd. 73 lives were lost that night, 59 of them children. The youngest victim was only 2 years old, and there was no fire, just a cruel, deadly lie. To this day, no one knows for sure who shouted fire. Was it a cruel prank, or something more sinister? Perhaps the work of anti-union agitators aiming to break the spirits of the striking miners. The Italian Hall disaster remains a chilling reminder of how a single act of thoughtlessness or malice can destroy lives. This Christmas, the memory of those small coffins lingers, a testament to the weight of loss. Could this tragedy have been prevented if fear hadn't won that night? Number 1. The Murder of the Lawson Family, 1929. Our final story takes us to Germantown, North Carolina. It was Christmas morning, 1929, and the Lawson family, Charles, his wife Fanny, and their 7 children, prepared to celebrate. Earlier that day, Charles Lawson, a sharecropper, took his family into town for a rare holiday portrait, a gesture so seemingly joyful that no one could have guessed the horrors to come. Hours later, Charles took a shotgun and murdered his family one at a time. His wife, Fanny, was the first victim, shot as she stood on the porch. One by one, the children, Carrie, Maybelle, James, Raymond, and little Mary Lou, fell victim to their father's rage. Even his infant granddaughter was not spared. Only one family member survived, Charles's eldest son, Arthur, who had been sent on an errand that day. Some believe this was intentional, a calculated act by Charles to ensure his legacy. But what could drive a father to commit such unspeakable acts on Christmas Day? Financial struggles, the grief of losing 2 children before, or whispers of a far darker secret, an alleged scandal involving incest and despair? The weight of the massacre haunted Arthur for the rest of his life, and the tragic tale became a macabre legend in Germantown. Neighbors claim to hear whispers on the Lawson farm, and some believe Charles's guilt and madness left an indelible mark on the property itself. Even now, the Lawson Family massacre raises disturbing questions. Could anything have prevented it? Or was this tragedy a grim inevitability? Would you ever see the holidays the same if it happened to you? These stories remind us that even in the season of joy, darkness can creep in. Tragedy doesn't pause for Christmas. As you celebrate this year, take a moment to reflect on these haunting events and the fragility of life. Which story haunted you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, sometimes the most chilling part of Christmas is the truth we never hear.